Hello, this is Mark McDaniel. Welcome to another podcast. Today, we have Madeline Rayford-Holland on. I'm super excited to introduce. Madeline has created a property management company, MHM Properties, Luxury Properties. She started this in October 2021 and has grown it to 7 figures, and both top line and bottom line. Just incredible. Madeline also is heavy in the social media influencer space. She does a lot of one-on-one consulting and coaching to any would-be property managers or folks out there with just one property who just want to learn soup to nuts how to set this thing up, what it needs to look like, and how to make it hum. So welcome to the show, Madeline.
Thanks, Mark, for having me. I'm excited to be here with you guys.
Yeah, we're so excited to have you. I've actually been following you for a while and have become a fan. And so for those out there, Madeline and I were just chatting a little bit beforehand, and I was telling her just this great content that she puts out. So tell us a little bit about how this content comes up. Is it just you're learning this day to day, or is this just stored information that nobody else knows?
I think it's just one of those things that as property managers, we take for granted, the knowledge that we just have in the backs of our brains. And with my consulting clients, I'm on calls every day helping them troubleshoot, different aspects of their business. And how I create my Instagram content every morning at 5 a.m., I go back through my brain of the conversations and the pain points that my clients have had over the couple days before, and I make my content based on that pain point or that question that they've had the day before. So I'm trying to make sure that my content's always relevant and I'm providing super value-packed information for folks that is actually going to move the needle in their business, not just some piece of fluff content that, everybody else is putting out there.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was looking at one of your latest pieces of content. It was basically teaching people how to get more direct bookings. And so, Mark Simpson always says he created this company called Boostly that does online booking sites. He always says, like, relying on Airbnb and VRBO is like building your house on somebody else's property. And so it sounds like, and I learned something just by watching your online content, that you're using videos, right? You're using videos on VRBO's site to kind of get folks over to your own site?
Absolutely. So we're trying to stand out. One of our markets is Blue Ridge, and it's fairly crowded, probably similar to the Smokies like you guys have. And we were just racking our brains of how can we stand out and give guests a better experience before they ever book with us, so that they can have an understanding of what they are going to get. In this business, the name of the game is managing expectations. So, if a picture is worth 1,000 words, a video is worth 1,000,000. And I saw on the VRBO platform that they had a place to input a YouTube link for a video virtual tour. And just like with anything, Instagram, Airbnb, they want you to use all of their features, and they reward people who do so. So I said, all right, how much is it going to cost for me to get a drone videographer out there to get the exterior of the property and somebody in to do a walkthrough so we can give guests that extra level of confidence of what they're going to get when they're booking our space? So we did. I think it was $300 for the guy to come out and make the video. And we added it on YouTube on a virtual tour playlist and added it to our Vrbo listing. And immediately, Vrbo bumped up our listing. We could tell it in the premier host status that they were showing us higher up than we ever had in the past. So I said, people love this. It's converting a heck of a lot better. How do I get this over to Airbnb? And, they have their terms of service, and they don't want you to necessarily try and take business off platform. But if you are offering value that they are not offering as a feature, like a video virtual tour, they allow it. So what we did was create a QR code that went to a QR hosting website. I use qrcodegenerator.com, everybody. So what that looks like is they have a place where you can host that YouTube video, and it just has the name of the property up at the top. So if somebody from Airbnb were to follow that link, which they won't, all it says is video virtual tour MHM. And then it has a book now button at the bottom. That book now button goes directly to my direct booking site. So I'm not directing people to a direct booking site directly from Airbnb. I'm directing them to a video page, and then it redirects back over.
How long have you been doing this?
About 8 months. And it brought my direct bookings from 10% over 50%. It's insane.
So this is just a Matterport, right? Like a dollhouse walkthrough?
No. I have a videographer come out and put it on the like boom thing. So it's a very smooth walkthrough situation. So he comes in and drones the outside of it.
It's an actual video, not like a click and move forward and click. Okay. That's cool.
It's an actual video. It's set to music. It has little blurbs that pop up, hot tub, wraparound porches, 4 bedrooms, 1 king size bed. It just gives all of the specifics as they're walking through the property and the unique selling points of that property. And then at the bottom, it says book now. And if they like it, they click it and it takes them straight over to my direct booking website.
Wow. That is great. Yeah. Super smart. We're probably 30% direct bookings, but we do a lot through ads. But this is, first of all,
how much are you guys spending on ads?
Probably $1,500 a month.
Okay.
So it's not crazy, but if you did one of these for every, not only does this boost your brand because it looks a lot cooler, like you don't have to spend money on the ads.
Exactly. It just keeps paying for itself along and along. And what's even more important to me is providing that elevated guest experience and setting the tone for the level of service that a guest is going to get even before they book. So they know the quality of the property, their expectations of the standard of the property is already set. And it answers a lot of questions for them that they may have about the property just from being able to see the property itself. It's decreased our number of questions, like clarifying questions about the property significantly as well. So our team isn't having to answer a bunch of things. They can also just send over the video link if they have additional questions about the space.
I love it. I think that's super smart. What else are you, I won't ask you to give away all your secrets. What else are you doing like that to boost direct bookings? Or is that kind of like your preeminent thing?
That's been what I think has moved the needle the most.
Yeah.
The other thing is having a photo in each listing that encourages guests to follow us on social media. And then the first pinned post on our social media is about how they save money by booking directly. You'll always get the best price. So we say, hey, follow us on social media. We occasionally run promotions on social media. Here's how you find us. Look for this pinned post. And we have a picture of the post to look for.
Yeah, that's super cool.
And then it's a video walkthrough of price comparison between Airbnb and what it looks like when they book directly for the same dates. So they see it right in front of them, the price savings for that. But you and I both know that you make more money when people book directly because you can capture those additional
It's a win-win for everybody.
For everybody.
Yeah.
They get a discount. We make more money. Life is good. So then we also get the ability to remarket to them after their stay, especially when they book directly because we have all of their information. So we have clients coming back year after year, staying at one of our properties, or if they stay in Blue Ridge and they want to stay in an Athens property, they can do so because we are making that information readily available.
Yeah. I learned another tip at a conference, and might be worth implementing. You might not like it, but right at the door handle, whether it's the refrigerator or the front door handle, put a little sign that says, tag us and whatever your property management, MHM property, luxury properties, whatever your handle is for your social media, tag us with your pictures this week And at the end of the month, we'll take the best picture and send a bottle of wine. And so you basically get everybody else to do your social media for you. And so
we have signs in our property that says having a good time, tag us, and then it has our name, but we don't have a drawing for wine at the end.
Haven't gamified it. Yeah.
Yes. All right.
The idea was like, so you wouldn't miss the sign, like obviously, but right when your hand is at the handle, like the sign is right there and you're like, oh, what's this? It just kind of kicks off the mood too.
Yeah. Who doesn't want to celebrate with some wine? I was at a conference and Mark Simpson spoke at it 2 or 3 weeks ago talking about direct bookings. And I don't know if you've heard what he does, but he sends a message to all of his guests when they book on Airbnb or Vrbo. And it says, hey, name, thanks so much for booking with us. Just to confirm, if you booked on Airbnb and Vrbo, your confirmed check-in time is 4 p.m.
I see where
if you book directly, your check-in time is 2 p.m. If you have any questions about your reservation or your stay, feel free to reach out directly at the phone number. And then he says a ton of times they call out and say, hey, how do we get a 2 o'clock check-in? And then they walk them through canceling it on the platform and then booking it directly with them.
That's risky.
Which that is so risky to me too. I do not do that. I heard him share that and I was like,
that's risky.
Not sure how I feel about that. But I mean, he is 1000% committed to the direct book movement.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I thought that was a little bit much for my taste, but it's successful for some people out there.
Yeah, they can blackball you. Do you use SafeEyes as well?
We do.
Yeah, that's great. It's so good.
Have you guys seen success with that?
Well, we've been collecting a ton of data, and then we use MailChimp to send out occasional marketing messages. And so we'll get repeat folks who used to book on Airbnb. Now they would book directly with us because we've earned their trust and we're showing up in their email box. So occasionally it hasn't been like overwhelming, but I think that data is worth a lot. Like collecting all that data, the more. I heard Donald Miller say one time, like every email address you have is worth at least $10 to $100, depending on the business you're in.
Wow. I would say that's true.
Yeah.
When you average that out over the course of things.
Yeah.
So what else have you guys seen success with direct booking?
Well, honestly, like we're looking, and so we're still learning a lot on the direct bookings front. Like what you just talked about, like we have really focused on trying to make the properties awesome. And so I like to tell everybody, we like to treat our guests like millionaires for the weekend. And so when they walk in, they want a fully functioning refrigerator and microwave and no dust bunnies in the corner and the pool to be working. And so we focus a lot on like really, really good pictures. And I was going to do the Matterports, but again, it was hard. It was hard to get that to show up in Airbnb, but I like your QR code idea. So, yeah.
Yeah, I like I've seen some Matterports executed well. I personally like the video aspect as well. And here's a tip when you're talking to a videographer. I always ask them to give me all of the footage in landscape and portrait. And here's why. As you're creating Instagram or social media content, it likes portrait, not landscape. But YouTube and virtual tours likes landscape. So if they're already out there shooting the footage, get it in both. That way you can up your social media game.
Great tip.
Because people love to see videos. It's what's entertaining to folks. And so if you can get some really high-flying, great drone footage, like it really just has this epic feel to it. And when you have gorgeous mountain shots, if you can get some with some leaves or other things like that, it just really sets the tone and gets their emotion involved in that in just a way that Matterport can't. It feels pretty utilitarian to me, which we want people to get that feeling and emotion before they ever book, because that's what's going to get them to click buy.
That's so good.
You know,
always tell our general manager, we want to make them the hero of this story. And so we want to put them in the middle of this story. Like, this is what you want to do while you're here. You walk in the front door. This is the first thing you want to do. The second thing you want to do. And the third thing you want to do, and the most important, is leave the house and go experience the area. And so that's good. Like, I love that your idea of bringing emotions into it. I mean, that is, I guess that's marketing 101 and something you know way more about than I do.
So with that, as far as like encouraging guests to get out and go and do, are you guys doing any upsells or affiliate marketing with local companies?
We haven't yet.
Okay. Have you looked at, there are a couple companies out there doing a great job with it. There's the Host Co. as well as Mount. And they make it really easy for you to have a storefront with them and provide those recommendations. Our place in Blue Ridge, you can book a private chef, you can book in-house massages, you can book horseback riding, you can book the groceries to be delivered before. And it's all in a storefront that we send guests a link to. We say, hey, need anything before your stay? We have a store. And it just has a really quick link to that. But it's where they can book late check-in, late check-out, but all of those other great things to do during their stay. And we get a percentage if they book through our recommendation there.
That's great. We do partner with a local company up there, but we have not asked for like any kind of concierge services. They provide it. They're really great, but we have not asked for anything in return. But I think why not? I mean, they would spend those monies attracting clients somehow, you know?
Yeah. And you're providing that recommendation and that service to your guest and giving them great local recommendations without them having to make the effort to go out and find it. Yeah. So it's pre-vetted, and these platforms make it really easy. They just send them over to their pre-vetted folks, and then we get a payout at the end of the month, which makes it really easy to, add just a little bit more to that bottom line. I always joke with my clients of, I have a small but mighty portfolio, but I get every single dollar out of every single property.
So good. Yeah, that's so good. You were talking before the show about how you do this with like furniture and mattresses and contents of the short-term rental property too. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the properties that I own within my portfolio, we are known for a really distinct, elevated, collected design. We have a brand standard in our signature properties where, no matter where a guest is staying at one of our properties, they always know that they can get the same organic cotton linens and the same purple mattresses in our properties and a fellow kettle and a Smeg toaster. And they just know what they can expect, just like if they were going to a Marriott property. We have the same type of amenities at each one of our properties. And so we make thousands of dollars a year because the guests love our sheets, and we have an affiliate link ready to send when they ask where they can buy them. But we also, in our properties, in our guidebooks, we have a little page that says, fall in love with something during your stay, ? Use this code to shop your stay. And we just have a little QR code that takes them to a shoppable page on our website of where they can buy the sheets, the bedding, the, decor pillows, the couch that we have in the space, because it makes it easier for them to, find that recommendation and take it home with them.
Yeah. I think it's genius. And so that kind of leads me, I mean, you've got so much information, and if somebody were listening to this podcast right now, they would probably go and like just be overwhelmed. So that kind of leads me to ask you questions. Like, obviously you have a wildly successful property management company and you're doing a great job, but you're also coaching folks on how to do this on their own. What does that look like for somebody? Say I said, all right, Madeline, I would love to sign up for you to coach me. Is that actually one-on-one Madeline time, or is that a video, or how do you do that?
Yeah, it's actually one-on-one time with me. So it's a 12-week intensive program. We break it up into 3 pillars. The first is audit. So we come in and look at your existing portfolio if you have one. If not, no worries. We will help you analyze where you are and where you want to be, and then acquire if you want to acquire another property. So we give you all of the tools in our tool belt to help you move the needle if we're auditing your existing business, but then help you figure out how you're going to acquire your next property if you're looking to buy, or help you become more credible if you're looking to add doors with your property management company. And then our second pillar is the physical setup of a property, creating that brand standard, and helping you figure out what amenities in your market are going to help you stand out. You and I were talking a little bit more about how you stand out in a crowded market when there are, 13,000 properties in the Smokies or thousands of properties in Blue Ridge. How do you make sure you're just not lost in pages upon pages of listings? We come in and help our clients figure out what amenities are going to move the needle and where they can spend and where they should save a little bit on that, because we don't want to blow, somebody's budget where there's a point of diminishing returns. So we give folks furniture buying guides. We come in and say, hey, this is how you should set this up. Set up your owner's closet this way. This is the most efficient way to run this process. And then the third is the digital aspect and the processes. So the property management software, how can we set up the systems to run everything on autopilot and then market the listing that we've spent this time creating in unique and interesting ways where we're capturing every single dollar worth of profit at the end of the day. So we do that through one-on-one video coaching, a Slack channel where you get access to me and other coaches on our team, and then lifetime access to my course, which is Airbnb on Autopilot, which is fantastic for training team members. I send that all the time of, hey, you're onboarding with my company, you have to watch my course first.
Yeah.
And so it's an easy training tool for folks as they're growing their business.
That is so good. And I know that takes a lot of time and a lot of effort to make a good product like that. So we appreciate you just giving back to the community and allowing other people to learn that way. It's such a win-win for everybody for you to give away information like that.
Well, thanks, Mark. It's really rewarding seeing people create success in their own lives. And, you doing this podcast, giving out all of this information for free is such a gift as well. So thank you for that.
Oh, thank you. High five. Yeah. So have you always, I'm just going to kind of peel back the onion a little bit. Have you always been an entrepreneur? Like when you you grew up in Georgia, right?
I grew up in Georgia, moved to Virginia, the Hampton Roads area, so Virginia Beach, Chesapeake area, and then went to school at Virginia Tech. I come from a long line of entrepreneurs, and my dad is actually my greatest mentor. I left Virginia Tech and came back to run our family government contracting company and served as COO there for about 8 years. So we did high security credentialing for government agencies all over the world. And I came to this point in my life of saying, hey, my dad's getting older. I've been running this company. Do I like high security ID cards? And I realized when I did some soul searching, I loved that business for the processes, but I loved it even more because it allowed me to work with my dad. And so he and I had a pretty hard conversation of, I love you and I love being in this business with you, but I don't love this business. And so it's not what it gives me like joy or passion. And throughout my time there, I had started this lifestyle website, Moderately High Maintenance, which is where the MHM of MHM Luxury Properties comes from. But it was my creative outlet with during that time when I was doing pretty industrial type work. And I had a moment through that process of reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I knew that I enjoyed real estate and I wanted to get into it in a way that felt authentic to me, which was hosting people and sharing my love of hospitality, sharing the products and experiences that I loved. And so we bought our first property, and I really crafted the items within that property from my lifestyle website and all that I had shared for years with that community. And so that is how we initially created that brand standard, and I made the stay shoppable. So
very organic.
Because that's where my business came from in the beginning, was that influencer marketing and lifestyle website space. So it was a very natural transition for me to work with the brands that I love, share them in the space that I wanted, create these surprise and delight moments for my guests who were coming in. And it was so wildly successful that we added 5 more properties to our portfolio within 6 months. And we just took off from there.
Wow. So does that luxury kind of lifestyle website still exist?
It does. I'm not actively like growing it or adding content to it, but it does still exist. Lots of good recipes, gluten and dairy-free recipes, and life on our farm. We have some dwarf goats and horses and all kinds of fun stuff over there.
That's neat. Was a short-term rental property the very first piece of real estate, obviously outside of your primary home, but was it the first piece of rental real estate that you bought?
It was the first piece of real estate that I bought. Part of my operational duties way long ago was managing my parents' long-term rental portfolio. And all that taught me was I wanted nothing to do with tenants and toilets, because the ROI was so low for the amount of headache that it was. And so when I had that, rich dad, poor dad experience, I always laugh because my clients come to me and they've either listened to Bigger Pockets podcast or they've had a rich dad, poor dad moment. Generally, somebody has had one of the two when they're coming into the short-term space. And so when I had that thing of, I want to really get into real estate, I knew I didn't want to do long-term. So short-term really felt right for me and my personality. And it was the first piece of real estate that I bought.
Just you describing yourself and seeing what you do on social media, it seems to fit your personality perfectly with the designer.
Thank you.
I mean, the interior designs and the lifestyle, and because that's what vacationing is all about, is just about staying in a unique place that doesn't look like home. I talk to people all the time. They're like, well, what makes a short-term rental stand out? And I'm always like, don't think like mainstream Marriott. Think boutique hotel. Like it might be owned by Marriott and it might have the same mattress, like the same purple mattress and the same toaster, but it's very unique. It's going to have like wallpaper on one wall, and it's going to, just have the amenities that vanilla properties don't have.
Exactly. And my best piece of advice with that is never settle for good enough. Like you are going to get lost if that is your mentality. Oh, is this good enough? If you're asking yourself that, it's probably going to be average. It's not.
Yeah.
So
it's amazing because so many folks, it seems like over the past couple of years, and this is incredibly important in a lot of vacation rental markets, that to be tip of the spear, to be one of one or one of 5 properties versus one of 4,000 properties is so important. So if you spent your last dollar just to acquire this thing for tax reasons, it's going to be really, really hard for you. So any advice, and I know you feel this way too, any advice that we can give about should I go with a 5-bedroom, which in 2021 got $150,000, or should I go with the 2-bedroom that has, and maybe have a little bit of money to spend on amenities and the look and feel of the property? Go with the cheaper property, go with the lesser property, and spend it on the amenities. Is that kind of how you feel about it too?
Yes. So when I'm advising my clients in the acquisition process, I am all about finding the right property in the right market at the right price. So if somebody wants to be in a certain area, but their budget doesn't support it, and they're going to have to get a subpar property. I'm like, what is the motivation here? Do you want to be in a successful short-term rental business, or do you just want to say that you have a house in this area? Because check the box. Like that's not the purpose behind it. And I think the important thing is to know their numbers and know what is already successful in that area, and know how to look at good comps, reliable comps, because you may have a 5-bedroom house in the Smokies, but all that rents in the Smokies is a cabin. And so, but just because they're in the same geographic area, AirDNA messes up those numbers. So be able to look at the numbers, but also be able to look beyond the numbers, because you have to know what is consistently booking within that area. And if it has to have a hot tub, you have to put a hot tub in that property. If you don't have the budget to support it, go somewhere else, or else you're not going to be successful within it. So,
yeah, that is such good advice. That's such good advice. I mean, probably a good rule of thumb is to go like to the most intense markets with the most demand and try to find like the best handful of properties and stay in them. And then whatever market you're in, bring that to your market, and you're going to be a standout property. Like if it stands out in a market where there's 12,000 properties, it's definitely going to stand out in a market where there's 300.
Absolutely. That's a great piece of advice. I secret shop people all the time. And, I'm probably the best and the worst Airbnb or Vrbo short-term rental guest ever, because I'm going to leave their property spotless, but I am judging everything. I'm going to leave you a 5-star review regardless, but I am like judging everything that you've done in this property.
Yeah.
So,
no, that's good. I mean, you would be a great guest if you want to have tips and how to improve.
Yeah, well, I never feel comfortable telling people that. I'm always like, thanks so much for a great stay.
Yeah.
Call it a day. But I'm taking things back, like the good things back, and I'm saying I would never do this. This is a good lesson on what not to do. So I'm sure most hosts do the same thing.
When you travel, do you generally stay in a short-term rental property or a hotel?
Most of the time a short-term rental property. We've got 2 small kiddos. They're 3 and 1.
Yeah.
So we like to have the extra space to make sure that they're not sleeping in the same space as us, because
that's right.
They wake us up. So short-term rental all the way.
That's good. Well, this has been awesome. And I know we've skipped around a lot, but it's just been really, really good. And I mean, you can tell that you're kind of all in. I mean, you know about the business, you're all in. It's very, very good attention to detail. And we interview a lot of folks on this podcast. And I think you stand out and you're unique in your approach. So we appreciate that.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate you having me. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah, you're absolutely welcome. You'd be welcome back anytime. If there was any tip or trick, like one last thing that you could give to anybody who's kind of considering getting into the market, maybe it's something like, if you don't think this way, then don't get in the market. But if there's any tip or trick that can help somebody who wants to get in, what would it be?
I would say never lose sight of the reason why we are in this business, which is to give an amazing guest experience. And if you focus on the hospitality and creating a wonderful, elevated guest experience, the money will come and you will be successful. But if you get focused on the other aspect of that business, or if that's the only reason you want to get into this business, don't do it.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Great advice. Great advice. It's not a real estate business. It's a hospitality business.
It's a hospitality business.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, this has been great. What is the best way or the best handful of ways that folks can get in touch with you?
Instagram is the easiest way to get a hold of me. You can find me at Madeline Rayford-Holland. That's MaDeleine Raiford-Holland. There's a little bit of funky spelling. So will you put this in the show notes, Mark?
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so Instagram is the best way to find me personally. And then our properties are at MHM Luxury Properties.
Awesome. And Madeline's already got like 27,000 followers. So she should be easy to find. Like once you start typing that name in, she should be pretty easy to find. But we'll
and I always try to connect with people personally. So if you give me a follow, don't be surprised when I send you a message and they're saying, thanks for the follow. How can we connect? So
that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. And you've been great.
Thanks, Mark. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And thanks again.
You too.